Wii Sports Resort, the third best-selling game for the Nintendo Wii, behind Mario Kart Wii and its older sibling Wii Sports. Released in July of 2009, you could explore every nook and cranny of the iconic Woohoo Island with 12 brand new activities, and there was absolutely no shortage of things to do. The scope of this game is unmatched when it comes to the rest of the Wii series, and it introduced a new accessory in the Motion Plus to further refine motion control, the defining gimmick of the console. Any completionist who's played Wii Sports Resort will know of the 5 stamps that provided an extra challenge for each of the sub-games, enticing you to search for features of the game you would otherwise never have found, such as a method to do a secret strike in bowling, a tour guide for island flyover in Miguel, secret fruits scattered across the stages in archery, rounding up stray ducklings for the mama duck in canoeing. The list just goes on and on. In particular for that last thing I mentioned, did you know that there's an in-game timer tracking how quickly you can return all 10 ducklings to the mom? Canoeing isn't the most flashy or replayable minigame in Wii Sports Resort, but it definitely fits the bill in terms of translating the real sport to Wiimote motion control. Paddling is what you expect it to be, and the faster you're able to do the action, the better pretty much. The in-game timer doesn't start until the very first duckling latches onto you, and the timer stops when you're within the visual proximity of the mom. As always with the earliest claimed world records for runs done for the Wii series games, it's very rare to find a video associated with the claim, and this is no exception. The earliest claim I could find was a 5:16.73 by Trindle, done on August 31st, 2009. This no doubt would have been an exploratory attempt, since the 10 ducklings are truly scattered all throughout the practice pond, and you may miss some if you don't know where to look. Talking about you, Sneck. The ducklings don't stay still after all, though their movements are all cycle-based and predictable. Here is a map of the positions of the ducklings and the mom. Speedrunners have affectionately named every single one of them. If there's a video of the run, I will be sure to draw a rough outline of the route, taken with my poor artistic ability. After Trindle, there were a number of other claimed records without video proof. The record steadily dropped from the 5:16 mark over time, going down almost a whole 2 minutes by February 2011, before we finally arrive at our very first run with video proof. This record was done by Barthax, who had claimed the world record of 2:27 3 days before they finally decided to press the record button. This run of 2:09.93 pioneered the route in the early history, being a very logical order to follow. Pete is the furthest duckling from the start, so you collect all the ducklings on your way to Pete, then circle back to collect the rest before returning to Mama. But in-game time is a fickle thing, and I did make sure to mention that time only starts when the first duckling lays its eyes on you. So by the time the Wii Sports Resort speedrunning scene was firmly established in 2018, people had the revelation to break the real-time first approach on this and treat it as an individual thing to fully optimize it. Real-time was still important in categories like all sports and all stamps, but for the purposes of this video, I will focus on the in-game time for Stray Ducklings. That being said, the next record was set by 10 Dog, a 149.71. His previous best was a 150, but no footage of that exists anywhere. Starting with Pete this time, the furthest duckling, is very logical to optimize the in-game time rather than the real time. But this completely changed the routing. After Pete, Bobby is on his own as well, but you can pick up Xavier on your way back to the rest of the flock. And due to how 10 Dog was lined up, it's pretty much a straight shot to Aaron, who is literally right next to Sneck. Finally, 10 Dog turned to pick up Holly, then Jerry, followed by Ichiro, Carl, and finally Carol. This new order showed a lot of promise, but the next day, 10 Dog would do the last half in reverse order and net a 143.01 as his reward. This run is also the first to intentionally stall out on collecting Pete immediately to allow the other ducklings to align with favorable cycles for the routing. Those two changes explain why the time was cut so much in an otherwise seemingly linear paddle simulator, but both innovations were here to stay. Now, it was just up to skill to optimize the turns as well as maintaining top speed. Tendog would breach the sub 140 barrier 3 days later, and then Stray Duckling saw its first inactive period post-speedrun.com era.
Oh, where's the last one? Oh, okay, there we go. Sub 140.
It would take until late May 2020 for Commander to bop Tendog with a 136.28.
Yes! 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 We did it! I love you, 10, but I'm sorry. What made this better than 10? I think a better Xavier made this better. It wasn't even grassless, so that's 2 seconds right there. That grass, that little turn of grass, made this run. And that worked for Ichiro, and I got a great turn from Jerry. I feel accomplished.
Tendog would not stand to have his dominance threatened, taking back the record less than a week later with a minor routing change by going for Jerry before Ichiro. This is the current fastest known route.
Oh my god, what? That's world record by like almost 3 full seconds. That was like my 5th attempt of the day.
Before I move on to the modern scene, I'd just like to mention Benders R Us, who apparently achieved the 139.33 literal seconds after Commander's aforementioned run.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
This would only have edged out the previous record by less than 1/10 of a second, but it would be wrong for me not to mention this little factoid. Another Stray Duckling hiatus occurred, lasting the rest of 2020 throughout all of 2021, until Benson was able to shave some time off the record on January 2nd, 2022. This was done simply by being more skilled at canoeing than Tendog, who preferred to grind golf. Benson, on the other hand, had an iron fist over Wii Sports Resort during the pandemic era, achieving top leaderboard positions on many categories, with Stray Ducklings being no exception. 2 years would again pass before Benson improved upon the record, adopting a seemingly risky ending approach and really pushing the limit of how far both Ichiro and Holly would detect him. At this point, the first 5 Ducklings were standardized, and the time save would come from how optimally the last 5 Ducklings were done. The most important sections were now the full turnarounds after picking up Carl, Jerry, and Holly. Setting up wide to provide a sharper line and reduce time spent pedaling into the boundary buoys was ideal, and this is the first run to really set the example of a modern top-level attempt. The next record came in 2 days, set by Benson's main competitor in other categories, Rain DX210.
Sure, I guess.
I think these two are generally regarded as the 2 best resort runners to ever do it, with Rain currently holding the most records across the game, but Benson at one point had that title by quite a substantial margin before Rain did. Rain's newfound interest in Stray Ducklings ignited a fire in Benson, who set several new records in the first few days of March and settled on a 126.46. By this point, Benson was actually outpacing the Ducklings' visual radii, and had to account for this by waiting around for an additional 30 seconds before collecting Pete, compared to previous records.
Yeah, so the mother duck, she has a really gross cycle that takes 2.5 minutes to complete, and we need to pick her up on a specific point of her cycle. Well, we do. We wait 57 seconds now, and by the end of the run, she is roughly in that place she's at now. If the other duck cycles didn't line up, then the next earliest possible point would be another 2 minutes and 30 seconds later, which means instead of waiting like a minute, we'd need to wait like 3.5 minutes at the start, which is just stupid. I hope I explained that well. If I didn't explain it well, boo-hoo. That's the best I could come up with. All you need to know is that the cycle working out the way it does right now is so insanely lucky, and it saves us the headache of waiting like 10 minutes between attempts.
This means runners now idle for around a minute 30 before starting any attempts. But this extra delay creates a much better cycle for the ending, especially noticeable in the Holly Mama section. All that just to cut 4 seconds off the record may not be appealing to everyone, but for Benson, it was worth it to deter Rain from contending for this category. Rain would have the last Quack, though, as he would achieve a 125.4 a mere month later, which is where the record stands today. But who knows? 2-year breaks seem to be a reoccurring theme in this progression, and it's been 2 years since the most recent record. Maybe it's time for something else to happen? I'd like to thank Rain for helping me review the script and giving me insight into the routing. This video has been on my mind for ages, but I finally decided to stop overcomplicating ideas and just do it. To tell the truth, grinding this category isn't all that enjoyable. I myself achieved a 209 from about 7 years ago, and I still remember it as being one of the worst categories I ran during my short Wii Sports Resort spree. That is to say, I really have the utmost respect for both Benson and Rain, and Tendog and all the other Quack % runners for sticking it out, and pushing this category to the heights it's now at, because the Ducklings are much less cooperative than this video makes them seem. I urge you to play this for yourself to see what it's like to suffer the minute-plus wait for yourself. That's my personal anecdote of this category done, so I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day.